province without a mayoral committee as head of the governance, in KZN, except that we only have one, which is Durban, which is the eThekwini municipality, which is the one that is having is a metro, but still it does not have, the mayoral committee. So we're looking at that as well. And managers are often directly engaging with political parties and may even address communities directly, thereby undermining the divide between politics and administration and the interface role of the mayor. And then likely, also importantly is the interim responses to the threats that are not implemented. And most threats, they go unreported, which is not supposed to be that as well. Political parties do not require qualifications for their employees. That is basically what is coming up as well. And this is not what is supposed to be. That must be considered. And we want, therefore, from the panelists to be able to give us that. I think I would like now to say, I would like to introduce the panelists that are with us. And we have got, our honorable MEC, who is the MEC for transport, community safety and liaison, Ubaba Ubegi Ntuli. And we really want to thank him for being available, and we're going to be giving him the first, slot to be able to indicate, to talk about that. He's going to be available. Okay, no, thank you so much. He is available. And what's that now? Okay, I think at this stage, what I would like us to do now is to open the floor for my leader and my mentor and the person that really commits into local governments, who hit the ground running when he had to be given this very important position in our province. And that the floor now will be open for MEC Baba Mpemba. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Dr. Ngubane, and thank you for the opportunity that is granted to me at this point. And I do want to greet the chairperson of SALGA, Mem Kulise, and all the stakeholders that are part of this great occasion today. And I actually would like to thank all of you for allowing me an opportunity to talk first before any other panelists, because I have some engagements that are crucial, that of the Stock Theft Summit that we are running in the Zululand district in Vryheid. And I do really, I want to apologize for that. I would have loved that I stay with your meeting for a very long time, but time is not on our side. On things that are pertaining to peace and stability creation in our province, I do want to report to this August stakeholder meeting that in both cabinet and the command center, we have come up with an integrated strategy to deal with some unrest and public public protests that are taking place in our province. And that peace stability, that stability strategy, has gone through the cabinet, and it has also gone through the command council. That is looking at both the instability that is currently taking place in our province, but also in view of the fact that we are heading for local government elections next year. It just goes without saying that we all need to put our heads together and see what is it that we can together do in order for us to clamp down on the instability that is taking place in our province. May I hasten to say that, having listened to you say, you have actually touched on very critical issues, that of the instability and disputes that are taking place within political parties and within political parties as individual, which are referred to as interpolitical disputes. And that in itself creates instability, in that you would find people killing one another on very minor things and petty political issues. And you also did indicate that you as a stakeholder that would form part of our strategy in terms of filtering down to our locals and our branches and in our streets. You said instead of creating wedges amongst ourselves as communities, we need to build bridges of dialogue. That's what we are preaching as well from the space of our community safety and liaison, where we have a community in dialogues for whichever dispute that is taking place in our communities. I do not want to come out without having touched on issues that are important in our space, which is gender-based violence, which is caused by different things in our lives, which I do want to call upon every individual, be it a normal member of community or a member of a council, a member of provincial legislature, member of parliament, so that all of us, we really respect our people, our women, and we take charge of protecting them. And again, you would recall, honorable members, that we have just launched 16 Days of Activism, which was led by the Premier in Mtubatuba, where he is the champion, and all champions have actually conducted some activities that were dealing with the gender-based violence and 16 Days of Activism. And as a person whose line function is to see to it that there is peace and stability within families, I do want to appeal to members of communities, to the leadership of SALGA, councillors in different space, that they should form part of dealing with such a pandemic within our communities. And putting aside political differences is what we actually had launched and signed yesterday. And I'm glad that both some councillors and the MEC for COCTA and political leaders were also present when we were revamping the multi-political party intervention committee, which is a structure that was formed 9 years ago, where we believe if we go to each and every district, each and every local government structure, we will be able to say, if there is anything that makes you not see eye to eye with a political party leader, you really need to appeal to the structure where all political parties are part of it. Those that are already inside government and those that are coming out and registering now that are not in both governments, that is local government and provincial government, were part of this when we launched it in Ulundi, which was a very great success. And I appreciate the participation of all the parties in KZN that were part of this one. And I have taken it upon myself that those parties that were not seeing it important to attend, I will communicate with them and appeal to them to honor this structure, because this is one way of bringing in peace and stability in our province. You have touched on, Honorable Chair of the session, Dr. Ngubane, on the fourth industrial revolution, which we are considering and putting in place in terms of safer city, and that we have launched in eThekwini. We're planning that should be cascaded down to different regions, and the 8 regions that have been identified, not municipalities, are the like of Mkungundlovu, which in this regard will use Msunduzi municipality and also Mhlatuzi municipality, and we're aiming at moving down to both towards Newcastle and Vryheid, and so that we are able to have corridors where this safer city and cameras could be put, so that you don't come into our province and we don't know who you are, and we don't know how to prevent criminal activities that may actually occur caused by either people that are coming in and out of our province and those that who do not want to create peace and stability. Let me identify one of our critical things that we are wanting to clamp down in our province, and that of the public protests. Honorable members of SALGA, I do want to appeal to all of us without fail. I do know that it is only out of frustration when people want electricity, they want water, they want human settlement houses, and the only soft spot that they see is road network and road infrastructure that they target and break. It is very difficult to deal with all this. But may I report to this House and function that we have an integrated peace and monitoring strategy that we are employing, where SEPS is leading, and we want to use all the community safety structures that we want to employ and deal with the public protests that are all over the show. And as such, we have community safety and liaison members that are decentralized, and they are found in all the districts. And if there's anything that we think we must come and assist with, we will gladly do so. But we do want to appeal to all political parties in the political space to try and assist us, not to influence their members to go to streets and burn tires and destroy the infrastructure that has been built already, because that would actually reverse our gains if we do that. But we are not, I must hasten to say, we are not going to compromise law enforcement. If anyone is found to having committed that, we will make sure that everybody else will be subject to the law. And I do want now to talk to the issue. I know that you will be spread all over districts and municipalities, and I know that it will be going to be festive season, and the festive season comes with its own challenges, and we also appeal to everybody, and we would want people to come to KZN. After having hit hard by the pandemic, coronavirus 19, we want to invite everybody to come from all provinces to KwaZulu-Natal to fill up our hotels, to fill up all the B&Bs for economic boost. But I must hasten to say, KZN is not going to be persevering people that will be breaking our laws of our roads. We would like people, when they come to KwaZulu-Natal, to obey our road signs, to obey our road laws, because we are not going to be persuaded by any other person. We want to be hard on people that will be breaking roads and thus increasing the road carnages in our roads. Those that have passed on currently, I think in my view, are enough, and we want to collaborate with all stakeholders, especially at your space, to try and work together with us. DLTCs that are not working, that are selling driver's licenses, we want to be together in clamping down those corruption practices, because we want to clamp down on fatalities and crashes that are happening in our roads. Truck drivers, truck industry. I know that at 4 o'clock with the Premier and the President has announced the issue of the trucks industry, that we are going to engage with them. And we don't want to meet with them and point fingers at one another. We want to say to them, what is it that we can do together? We want also to collaborate our strategy with the taxi owners, with the industry, the driving schools. We want to regulate them so that from time to time, we will bring in people, truck drivers, back to the training centers, so that they are retrained and they're resensitized. And we would like to appeal to structures, especially government structures, those drivers that are working for municipalities, for trucks, for vehicles. We want them to also to avail themselves for the retraining, so that when driving on our roads, we will be able to try and comply with the rules that are set out for road users. And I do want to appeal that this province, for both safety in our roads and safety in our communities, it is our responsibility, all of us. We want to say, if criminals want to be around in our provinces, it is not in our interest to keep them here. We want to squeeze them and squeeze the space for them so that they are not part of our communities. So that when people who are wanting to separate their stock files and they've got bonuses they want to enjoy with their families, they must enjoy with their families without being threatened by the criminals. So KZN has no space for criminals. Whether we know you or we don't know you, whether we know you for having had a position, but please, let's work together. Let's work together to deal with all of them. Today, I do want to say that I'm addressing a summit on stock theft in our province, and we do want to collaborate with all of you, that when we hear of any practices of stock theft in our communities, we must be part of dealing with this pandemic, because we know that people are using it for their sales. They are using it for their ceremonies, but they're also using the stock for teaching their students to university, those that can't afford and have liquid cash. So this is the crime that we want to clamp down, and we want to appeal to all of you. Once again, I would like to sincerely apologize that after engaging with you, I would have to join another meeting here in Vryheid so that we continue the activity of the government. But I must assure you, honorable members of SALGA, it is for the good cause that we have addressed you in this occasion. It is for a good cause that we all should participate and make sure that crime is being dealt with decisively, and anyone that would like to commit crime in our province must know that he's going to rot in jail. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable MEC, and ready to try and squeeze your time. We know the importance of your portfolio and your requirements in society, and we really want to say, when we have managed to even accommodate us, it is because really you see value in what we're providing as a SALGA. Colleagues, I would like just now to introduce the second panelist, who is well known into our province, Mr. Sabelo Kwala, who is the Provincial Director of Operations in KwaZulu-Natal SALGA. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Program Director. I wish to indicate that all protocol is observed, and a special note to the MEC in terms of touching on the various aspects that we've discussed today. We will discuss many things today, which the MEC has hinted on and has highlighted. As I was going through my slides, I had to even take out some of the things because the MEC has touched on them. So, Program Director, I believe we are in a place where we can have a frank conversation about this subject. Where you may be, you may have experienced this in your own space. So I believe this is one of those subjects that all of us must be well equipped to deal with, because if you have lived in South Africa, you have experienced violence, you have experienced political turmoil. That is just our history. That is unfortunately where we come from. So all of us, we have a unique perspective which we must contribute. So the title of this presentation is titled around impunity, intimidation, and political killings. And it is for that reason that we're saying this is a vicious cycle. I want to base my discussion with you today on inkulumo esabanayo ne-Moerane Commission. La sakhuluma khona ngezinto ezintathu. yini eyenza isimo kuthiwa isimo esingenalo udlame or peace, which is the green part here. How do we move from a situation of peace to tensions to violence? And our argument at the Moirane Commission was, it's not that we are moving from a state of peace to tensions to violence, but rather a situation where we are moving from violence and we must move towards tensions, then lessening of those tensions towards peace. The idea that there is an eruption of violence suggests that we don't have the history that we have, and we must own up to our history. We have an ugly history where much of the violence did not subside but was suppressed through what is covered in the media, through what we also discuss about as a country. But violence has been our daily life long before 1994 and long after 1994. I believe that changing the discourse to be about the creation of peace rather than fighting against crime will be beneficial to us. So ngamafishane nje kumele sikhulume ngokuthi lakhiwa kanjani uxolo, hayi ngokuthi luqedwa kanjani or rather luqala kanjani udlame. Ukuqala kodlame into vele sizalelwe ikhona. And we may not see it because sometimes you may have a violent conduct, but you don't see it as violence because you never see your name in the paper, you never see your face anywhere, you are never rebuked for having that violent tendencies. But all of us, we grew up in a violent society, and all of us, we have violence in us and in our conduct. And that is how things erupt. So impunity is a situation where we create a slow fade where we fade into impunity and then intimidation and then killings. But opposite to this, my argument is we live in a state where there is and there are killings and there is intimidation and jostling for positions where impunity is permissible. So thina nge-South Africa kufanele siziqhathanise nalamanye amazwe aba nodlame oluqubukayo liphinde lwehle. Thina sisezweni elikhuliswe ngodlame, siqale ngalo dlame futhi siphila ngaphansi kwalo. Sesize salijwayela laze laba inqubo yethu. Uma sitoyitoya noma sitelekela umasipala noma ubuholi obuthize, akujwayelekile ukuthi kungabi khona izinduku, kungabi khona threats of violence noma ukuthuka izinto ezinjalo ezenzekayo. Thina siphile ukujwayela ukuthi umuntu uma engakuphethe kahle, hayi sizomshaya loyo, sizokwenzani, sizokwenza njani. So i-discourse yethu is around violence. And owning up to this will allow us to fight towards peace. Ake siyeke le notion yokuthi i-violence noma i-political killings are motivated ukuthi abantu balambile balwela ukuthi babe nesinkwa njalo njalo, akunjalo. Asiboni abantu bebulalana for the sake of imali kuphela. Kufa both rich and poor, black and white. Everybody is experiencing violence in their own ways. Whether you are a housewife at home, you will experience domestic violence, or whether you are a corporate executive, you will still experience violence and intimidation. And men will tell you that their biggest fear is when the wife says, "Awuvuke nakho ngizwa umsindo la ngaphandle," and you have to take your best baseball bat and go and see what is that noise outside. That is a violence inviting itself into your home. And most of us would be quite familiar with that example. So we live in a society where violence is quite common. And it is absolutely not related to poverty. And I must state this, poverty is a reality which people who are poor are more likely to experience violence and all of those things because of poor infrastructure and policing in those areas, poor land, spatial planning, poor policing, and generally that climate will create where many people are living in a close environment, allowing for crime to manifest itself. So we must acknowledge that poverty does enhance crime, but to suggest that people are killing each other for the sake of avoiding poverty would be to romanticize the idea of political killings, and we mustn't do that. Ake siyeke nale nqubo yokuthi amakhansela abulawa ngoba abantu banomona, ngoba amakhansela ehlala kwizithabathaba zemizi, amakhansela ahlala kahle and ane-social distance kubantu abahamba ngey'moto ey'phakeme bona, ingakho abantu beze bebabulala. Nasi isithombe la somuzi wekhansela oshisiwe. Uyawubona lo muzi ukuthi bengewona umuzi obuyisithabathaba, kodwa ngekathi bewushisa nje babewushisa ngoba benezikhalazo abafisa ukuthi engabe zigciniwe. Asingagcini-ke futhi ngokuthi kwakunezikhalazo kuphela, kodwa it's a complex situation which we will get into why this house was burnt. This house was not burnt because this councillor has a better life than the community around. It's not that. So kufanele sizibuze ukuthi kwenziwa yini ukuthi amakhansela nosopolitiki baface le violence esikhuluma ngayo la namhlanje. So indaba yokuthi ubulivi obenza ukuthi amakhansela abe i-target asibeke eceleni ngoba kungenza ukuba yilona iqiniso. So as a councillor where you are, you will experience violence from both political aspects, threefold. It is political aspects, your role in council, but also your life personally. So not everyone who is killed for political reasons. Kungenza nje kube nibangela into zenu ugcina umuntu ebulewe into enjalo. It can be both personal, it can be in council, it can also just be your political views generally. But when it comes to politics, it is both intra-party as well as inter-party. Socio-economic factors, such as, for example, kansela amanya full-time, amanya weko full-time, sayiphika leyo kwi-Morane Commission, ukuthi akwazi kube lokho ngoba only about 10% of councillors are full-time. Futhi amakhansela are ranked between 1 and 6 in terms of categories or grading of councils in terms of ukuthi amakhansela ahola malini. And you don't see a situation where there is violence, umuntu ethi hayi mina ngizoyobulala ikhansela elikumasipala ku grade 6 ngoba ngifuna nami ukungena lapho, akwenzeki kanjalo. So the killings are not motivated purely for the salary of what a councillor is getting. And ileyo ekufanele siphike kakhulu ngoba the argument igcina seyithi hayi amakhansela ahola kakhulu ingakho abantu bebabulala befuna ukuba nawo, bafuna ukuba amakhansela. Akona lokho. And asibe neqiniso ngalento ngoba singazithola siyenza kube sengazi uzuthi uhola into embi. And that is not true. There are councillors that are business people and are involved in doing zabo, busy in others. Other part-time councillors are also allowed to have employment elsewhere. It cannot be good then such a person would then be killed for 250,000 or whatever it would be. EPAM. KZN received an influx of guns. And if you read the Morane Commission, you will see that much reference is made to the influx of guns which perpetuated the idea of killings, but also access to guns creates the ability. I've touched on the grading in terms of how that is unlikely to be a key factor. Intra-party, we've also talked about that, and we've talked about how it is both. It's not a matter of ukuthi sibanga nabantu esiphikisana ngabo ngeze politics kodwa nabantu esikwi-political party efanayo. SALGA rejected the argument that killings are informed by unemployment. Leyo nayo ingase isifake enkingeni ngoba ingasho ukuthi abantu abangasebenzi yibo ababulala abantu abasebenzayo, and that is not true. You are not finding a situation where unemployed people are going around killing people for the sake of those jobs. It is people who want to access state power. I guess sikhulume lento ekuthiwa state power ukuthi yini ibaluleke kangaka. Mangithi state power ngikhulumi ngokuthi umuntu ulwela ukuthi ufuna ukuthi ahlale kwi-council noma ufuna ukuthi ahlale kwi-MPEC njalo njalo. Abantu abalweli lokho. Masikhuluma nge-state power la, sikhuluma ngokuthi abantu babulalelana ukuthi ngifuna i-state power ukuthi isebenze ukufeza izinhloso zami. Kunogwala-ke la iMorane Commission eyamquotayo uSabelo Gwala thizeni usebenza kaSALGA. Ithi uyaphika ugwala ukuthi i-violence lena iqhamuka because abantu babanga ama-mega income and RDP houses and so forth. That is not true. SALGA raised an important factor that in municipalities where there are well-established systems and controls in place, it is unlikely that councillors will be killed. However, in municipalities that have broken down systems, it is likely for a councillor to be killed. The killings can be attributed to the need for state power. There is a vicious cycle versus a virtuous cycle. A vicious cycle leads to killing and a virtuous cycle leads to an environment conducive for democracy. Let's start with the vicious cycle. A vicious cycle is where you get elected, you then get into power. First thing you do, you cripple institutional controls. Go cripple institutional controls, it is when you will willfully erode imasipala for its ability to protect itself. You then place officials into or corrupt officials into key positions. You use businesses that accept and are willing to pay bribes. You then bribe key influential party officials and you exclude political rivals from oversight structures and you get elected again and so forth. If you see the impact of that cycle, the cycle on the right, tensions and killings during election season, weakening of internal controls, nama internal audit units, skeleton structure meant by interns and so forth. And the employment of unqualified officials and strikes. Kugcina lokho kulide ekutheni ama-projects are-interrupted. Ama-projects are-interruptwa ngoba kuwukuthi ama-business forum kuphela afika avimba ama-project athi angavumi, ayingaqhubeki le project ngenxa yokuthi akusetshenziswa abantu basendaweni. Akona lokho kuphela. Kodwa amanye ama-projects are-disruptwa ukuthi ufike umuntu aquote ukuthi uzowenza umsebenzi ngemali ukuthi bese emva kwalokho kufanele akhokhe ama-bribes. Lawo ma-bribes azokwenza ukuthi angabe saba nemali eyanele ukuthi aphushe i-project. Bese dinga ukuthi athole ama-early payments. Aceleke ukuthi ngicela ningikhokhele ngoba manje ngidinga i-staff, ngidinga ukukhokhela ukuthi kanjalo njalo. Okwenza lokho ukuthi i-project igcine imile. And so ukudisrupt a project wenza amakulide to community protests. And so it's a vicious cycle enjalo. Okulida to ama-disputes between ama-structures. A hegemony, a political hegemony, ibe weak. Bese kuba ne ineffective governance and loss of public trust. What is a virtuous cycle? Now, a virtuous cycle is where izinto zihamba in a different way. Can you imagine if you get elected? First thing you do, ukuthi ufunde le audit report ka Auditor General, bese you strengthen ama systems akamasipala. You strengthen our controls, and you have a zero tolerance for corruption. You protect our local businesses from pressure to pay bribes. Let's stop asiyeke lento yokublame ama-businesses for ukuthi bakhokhele ama-bribes njalo njalo ngoba kungenza ukube the pressure of a businessman to pay a bribe is so high if it's their livelihood. It must be ukuthi we look at ourselves first ukuthi thina, how do we create a climate where corrupt businessmen cannot flourish? Be transparent in your party political processes and include your political rivals in oversight structures. Ama-oversight structures, uma ephethwe yithi futhi sizi-overseer thina, it's unlikely ukuthi azoba effective. If we see uyalandela lama steps, we will have a situation where there is peace during elections, there will be strong internal audit units, there will be good audit outcomes, and so forth. So how do we get to this? We need to collaborate with COCTA and we need to collaborate with the IEC and other stakeholders, as has been mentioned before. If we are to be successful in creating virtuous cycle as opposed to vicious cycle, we have to start manje, singalindi ama-elections aze abe semnyango kuba ukuthi seyaqala i-campaigning period njalo njalo ngoba kuyobe sekulate lapho izinto eziningi zobe sezonakele already. We must not score our own goals that we scored in 2016 in terms of how we manage the election process, because i-hegemony decrease with every loss of a public trust. Thank you very much.
Mfephethe, thank you very much. Thank you so much for highlighting very, very important areas and looking at the technological aspect of why this happened, why this does not happen. I think really, you highlighted very clearly on the issues as they prevail, which should be able to cover isinikeze kakhulukazi, understanding ukuthi uqala kuphi ugcine kuphi. Bese kufike la umuntu khona ese uncontrollable. What happens? I think by analysis on the basis of the Morane Commission, which we know exactly it is a commission address some issues directly that in terms of violence, within our province, which we love the most, and we want to make sure that we move from the vicious to the virtuous cycle as it is being, presented to us. Without really taking much of the time, because these are panelists, and then I think you will be expected, honorable colleagues and members that are that have logged on and who we are with in this PMA. We will definitely be requiring some remarks from the delegates on the issues of how we can be able to resolve on this commission, on this particular panel, because at the end of the day, we need really your views on how we can better, the lives of our people within the institutions where we are placed to be able to lead, as members of government. At this stage, we will be skipping the IIC, but we'll go to the union leadership. In union leadership, I will be gladly introducing Mr. Vincent Mleje, who is the member of, who's representing Imatu. And I think he will be able to to talk to us and to generate, an interest in discussions, and also as unions, how do you view, the aspects of violence in municipalities, as not only municipalities, but in the communities that we lead as municipalities. And on that, I'm sure Mr. Mleje is ready. Are you there, Mr. Mleje? Are you ready? Any technical team? What's the response? maybe while we still, if we can simply move to the representative for ILGM, which is the Institute for Local Government, who Mr. Nkosiyezwe Vezi. We had him providing the words of support yesterday to SALGA's PMA, and I'm sure today we will have him ready. Nkosiyezwe, MM, are you ready? Okay. If also they're still not ready, maybe time has been too quick for them. We'll move to the representative from KZN Cocta, a well-known man by the name of Mr. Stella Duma. Ngabe already, Babu Duma?
Chair, I am here. Stand to be guided by yourself whether I'm audible on that side.
You're very well audible, Babu Duma. Thank you so much, and you can proceed. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Good morning to yourself, Dr. Ngubane, the Chairperson of SALGA, Umama Mkhulisi, the other leadership in SALGA, and other leaders. Perhaps I should just say all protocol is observed. Chairperson, I'm not going to give you a long presentation per se. Safe to say that I listened carefully to my learned friend, Mr. Kwala, and I think that he articulated the issues quite eloquently. If I were to go back to those issues, it would just be a repetition. The one aspect that, Chairperson, I will want to focus on is the aspect of costs. As COCTA, we have been analyzing these costs over a number of years, and we every year, in actual fact, we ask municipalities to give us information about the costs that are incurred by municipalities providing security to officials, to councillors, and anyone who finds himself or herself in a situation where they will need security. You will know as well, Chairperson, that the Minister of COCTA regulates aspects of security provision to councillors in particular, and municipal councils are required to adhere to the requirements of that notice from the Minister. What we are finding, therefore, Chairperson, is that the costs of providing security to councillors and municipal officials are increasing, in as much as the figures that we have are not necessarily reliable, because the municipalities tend to be reluctant to give us accurate information. We find that we rely on information that is largely incomplete. We nonetheless have this information, Chairperson, and we want to discuss the implications, because the reasons that were articulated by the Chairperson, or rather by Mr. Kwala, have implications on service delivery for various municipalities, Chairperson. If you look at the costs, Chairperson, starting in 2018, 2019, right up to 2020 and 2021, you will see that municipalities have been budgeting and spending over R1 billion over the past 3 financial years for the provision of security. And you will appreciate that these costs that are indicated here are only the direct costs. There are numerous other indirect costs that are not included here. By indirect costs, I mean, for instance, we don't necessarily include costs related to transport or vehicles, the office space that gets provided. Sometimes the information that we receive does not include communication mechanisms that cost money to the municipality. We know that in some instances, councillors and officials do require counseling, psychological counseling, and we do not include, those costs are not included here. So this is just costs that are related to the actual provision of security to officials in municipalities and councillors. I must hasten to say, Chairperson, that the figures that you see, as I indicated, are not necessarily reliable, and I would like that they should not be used publicly. They are just estimates that are based on information that is supplied to us by municipalities. You will see that in 2020, 2021, there is an interesting trend that is developing there, because if you look at the actual budget that was budgeted by municipalities as at 1 July 2020 is 351 million, but the estimated actual is 362 million. That is based on the actual as at end of September, because this year we did the survey to look at the actual as at end of September. And we found that municipalities as at end of September 2020 had already spent 90 million providing security to councillors and officials. And if you multiply that by 4, it's going to go up to 362 million. But that is not accurate, Chairperson, in the sense that we are going towards the 2021 local government election. And if past elections are anything to go by, you will agree with me that the need for security is going to increase phenomenally. And so municipalities are very much likely to overspend on this particular aspect in this financial year ending 30 June 2021, Chairperson. We also indicate to you the number of bodyguards involved. And again, these figures are not necessarily reliable because some municipalities do not give us adequate information for fear that they might have to account, because in terms of the notice from the minister, only the speaker and the mayor have outright security, and all other councillors should receive security on the basis of threat and risk analysis done by the SAPS. And we all know that getting those reports is like trying to extract gold from some old rock. It's quite difficult for some reason, Chairperson. Maybe it's an area that SALGA needs to look into, because the absence of those reports then puts municipalities in a situation where all this expenditure becomes irregular, Chairperson. The upshot of this, Chairperson, therefore, is that municipalities are diverting over R1 billion from service delivery programs towards providing for security for their councillors and their officials, because the environment is exactly as was described by Mr. Gwala. The environment is such that these councillors need this security in the main. But perhaps another aspect that Mr. Gwala may not have focused largely on, which is coming out in some of the forensic reports that COCTA has been receiving, is that some among the officials and among the councillors are benefiting directly from the provision of this security by their respective municipal councils, and by purporting to be under threat of some sort, and therefore being provided with security. And in some instances, you find that on paper, Councillor Duma, as an example, is provided with 4 bodyguards, but at any given time, Councillor Duma has 2 bodyguards, and yet the municipality is paying for 4 bodyguards. So over time, there has been corruption has crept in, and people are using this sad state of affairs to benefit themselves, as Mr. Gwala correctly articulated this particular aspect, Chairperson. Chair, I will not waste your time. That will be the gist of my contribution. Just to say that municipalities are incurring a growing bill in relation to the provision of security in order to protect the councillors and officials. And this is quite sad, actually, in a democratic country like ours. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Babu Duma. That very, very comprehensive approach, which definitely explains exactly, the kind of implications thereof. Having had an analysis, which I think is a good combination of panelists who give, in fact, the causative factors, and now coming to the way in which, it impacts on service delivery. Because you look at that amount of money that, if it could be directed to service delivery, then people could really be not complaining about not having services. But at the same time, if prevention could be implemented rather than focusing on how full the glass is, whether the glass is half full or the glass is half empty, which is exactly what Gwala, and also having had the analysis from Babu Duma, it really becomes, a burden now to the finances of the municipality, to the finances of the institution that is supposed to provide service to the people. Next panelist that we will require will invite into this input that you are getting. It is again Ubaba Unkosiyezwe Vezi, who is now available from the Institute for Local Government, the chairperson in KZN. Then we would like him to know that the floor, Babu Duma, sorry, but Abu Vezi, it's open for you. Are you available? Nkosiyezwe. If Nkosiyezwe is still busy with his gadgets, if Mrs. Johanna Naya is available now from Imatu, who is standing in for Mr. Vincent Mleje. Are you available, Mrs. Naya?
Good morning, colleagues. This is Johanna Naya from Imatu. I'm not sure if you can hear me.
Yes, definitely, yes. Yeah, you can come in now because
Okay,
Mr. going to follow you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. As you stated before, I'd like to start just to say an apology tendered from Mr. Vincent Mdleche of Imatu. He was part of the process yesterday and has asked me to stand in today as he's not available. On behalf of Imatu, I believe we can say that this is a serious issue. We've participated in the process yesterday and today. Apologies. Participated in the process yesterday and today to listen to all of the parties, to participate in such a serious discussion. We'd like to thank you for including us in this process, and just to say we consider it a very serious issue also. Perhaps Mr. Mdleche, who will be available a bit later on, he can come in and add more to the process. I think for now, our comments and input is to say that we are willing participants in the process and we support the initiatives taken by the local government sector to combat this serious issue. So from our side, I think that's where we can leave it at this point. Thank you.
Okay, Mrs. Naya, thank you. Maybe I think one also can say to you, don't log off completely, because we would like also to respond to some of the questions that may come in from the delegates as they are present today. Is Mr. Vezi is ready? Can we have Mr. Vezi now coming in? Is he available? Okay. I think partly so in the same approach that we will follow, because we have had a really quite an intensive input on this topic, which is very important, as I did indicate earlier on, as it is a very important, a panel that makes us to be prepared for the 2021 local government elections as we are headed towards that. At this time, members, delegates, can I open this for discussion? And if you want to input or to have comments, you're welcome just to raise your hand, and then we will be able to identify you and ask you to comment. And can we have the screen that will show also the hands? But I think clearly, so colleagues, it must very much be clear that we are, it's very strategic that we had to have this kind of a panel, which talks to many other aspects, but relating to the safety. And we had the MEC first, who spoke very clearly, to us that we should not be creating wedges, within ourselves, between councillors and the community, and also amongst the political, affiliations within the municipalities. And also he did make mention that, we are at the verge of now launching the 16 days of activism and of no violence against women and children. This is a very important period although we always say, while we are saying 16 days, but I think it's just the 16 days of more alertness and more awareness to almost everybody that, we need to be reminded that, umntwana lo ngumntwana wakho. Uma ubona umuntu wesifazane, looking at the age, it's either your mother or your sister, and that's how we're supposed to look at. And if it means you're looking at the mother or ugogo to be somebody that can be a tool, then automatically it does really reminds you to say, please go back to the roots and understand exactly who you are, in relation to the person that you are seeing or you are talking to. And I think he also highlighted also on the political differences, which may emanate intra or from extra. you know, and in intra within the same political party, or from the other, you know, opposition or political parties that do not really identify with you. So, you know, it is therefore, you know, some of the things that, you know, we need to look at. Those differences need to be to really look at what is more priority. Priority is to provide service to the people that we are servicing. I think I won't take much because there is a hand from Gerald Reveling from SALGA. He is your hand is up. You're welcome to express yourself, Gerald.
Chairperson, thank you, Program Director, for the opportunity, and also, may I say, all protocol observed. And let me also just appreciate the presentations that was conducted this morning. Chairperson, I think one of the issues that were touched on were basically the breakdown of systems. And I think from a labor relations perspective, I think we also need to consider that, you know, as local government, we have agreed on a centralized system of bargaining, where most of our substantive matters are actually negotiated at a national level. And then there's a few matters at provincial level, and then, of course, at the local labor forum. Now, unfortunately, what happens in some instances is that sometimes politics get into the labor relations environment, both from a councillor perspective or council perspective, as well as from a union perspective. So where it's possible to gain something that we couldn't get out of the system that we have agreed in local government, sometimes the unions may be opportunistic and take the matter to a municipal level to engage. And in some instances, unfortunately, also councillors are opportunistic in this environment by engaging at a municipal level. This in itself breaks down the system that we have created in local government, which is a very well-structured system, which protects all parties. But when we engage at a municipal level on matters that is the subject from a national, that is the subject of a national level from both sides, you get the kind of labor unrest that we have seen, for example, in Tshwane, a municipality, to mention one. And then you get the system not being adhered to. You also, through this system that we have created, protects all parties concerned. You will also then find, Chairperson, that sometimes violence or marches are taken to the homes of the political leadership within the municipality. So if demands are not met, you will find protest action going to the private residence of councillors, which in itself create major challenges. So I'm just generally wanting to comment to say I think it's important for SAMBU, Imatu and SALGA to adhere to the system that we have created, and not to, when it suits us, to be able to go outside the system because we are opportunistic. So that would be, I'm talking both from a council perspective as well as from a union perspective, that in those instances we should stand up as SALGA, Imatu and SAMBU to say that this is not acceptable and that the matter should be addressed at the correct forum, because I think by allowing that we can contribute to further labor unrest, which could ultimately result also in killings if when demands are not met. So that is just some comment from my side on what has been presented this morning, Chairperson. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Carol. You're really talking from the very important angle, which is the angle of labor, where some of the problems that have been highlighted by Mr. Gwala earlier on, did touch on those aspects, because it takes one to the point of understanding that the situation as it prevails, it is because somehow something has gone wrong, and then you need to really focus on how therefore we can be able to improve that aspect. But I think bringing all the stakeholders together, in order for them to be able to highlight those kind of challenges, I think it might be better. I think the hand of David Mumalo. Yes.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much,
Okay.
Chairperson Dr. Mbovu, and greetings to the panelists, all mayors, officials who have attended this PMA. If I may comment, before I go through the comments from the presenters, I think it's paramount, and I would like to thank SALGA first for the consultation that they did to the districts for us to have an input. So one of the panelists was talking about the understanding of us as councillors when we join municipalities. I think that boils back to the capacity of us as councillors to be able to be developed. So as a district, as a Herigwala, we appealed to SALGA that we need a proper development as councillors, because it will be in future an exit strategy than attending these 3 days, 5 days workshop with the certificate of attendance. I think in 5 years, because the diplomas can be finished within 3 years in the block fixtures like it was done through Virtuous University, something like that will help a lot. The other one that we raised as the district is that one of DTM, that we are appealing to our MEC that DTM MEC should work with us to be able to intensify it and internalize it with provincial and national departments. And the other one, I think SALGA should help us as district municipalities with this issue of unfunded budgets, because it's very prone to us. So we need to do something about it. But coming to the panelists, indeed, this notion of KZN should have an executive style of mayorship, I think that will be able to help a lot in terms of accountability, because sometimes a mayor can see things his own way, but because he needs a collective, then it's not going to happen the way the mayor feels, as long those mayors will not abuse that. You see, that's the first one. But secondly, because when things go wrong in a municipality, a mayor is taken as a political hit. The last one is the killing of councillors versus the gutting of councillors. I think this gathering or post it, we need to do something about it, because I fully agree in terms of the budgets. They are exorbitant, the budget of gutting councillors. Yet you're unable to say you not gut them, because we know that compared to other provinces, KZN has got a lot of councillors that were killed. I think this gathering, we need to come up with something to be able to channel that money to service delivery, but we need something to protect our councillors. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Zwide. Thank you so much, Umeya Waseherigwala. We really appreciate those kind of comments, which are very important as well. Colleagues, any other hands? No? If there are no other hands, can I just give it to the panel, to the, who? Who is? Oh, okay, all right. Oh, okay, no, that's fine. I think we will request at this stage, we have got Mr. Vezi, who's now connected with us, and we will request that the floor be given to him before we can wrap up with the comments that will be coming from the panelists after this first batch of hands has been raised as comments. Maybe there may be some input or comments that will be made by the panelists as well. So, Mr. Vezi, thank you so much for coming up, and the floor is yours. Thank you. Mr. Vezi, the floor is yours. Are you muted? I can't see. Okay, I think, rather than waiting longer than it's supposed to be, can I, at this point in time, request the members of the panel, if there are any comments based on the hand that have been raised. Mr. Gwala, is there?
Thank you very much. And indeed, we must take the comments around exit strategy. It's going to require, I think, all of us to put our shoulder to the wheel, because there is a major challenge when it comes to the kind of offering that we provide and what councillors take up. Many a times, councillors would, when it comes to attending these courses, they would then want us to make that provision available. And yet, when you're seeing the attendance, it doesn't quite live up to what we expected. But nonetheless, it's very important that we have a holistic exit strategy, and it looks at both training, but also what type of business opportunities and other employment opportunities that councillors can take up. And as part of that exit strategy, by the way, let's also make sure that our contributions to the pension funds and so forth are up to standard, because unfortunately, a life of a councillor can be very long or very short. And in the event that it is very short, it is very important that those contributions to the pension fund were appropriate. But we must definitely take that up. I think it's something that we've long said we need to. On the issue that my colleague raised on security and the security costs, I think iyonakele ekufana impela sizinuka amakhwapha ukuthi senze kangakanani ukuthi sizidalele inkinga thina. Ngoba ngempela mawubheka ama-costs abengangena kwi-service delivery kodwa agcine eseya ekuvikeleni thina. And i-climate of violence idalwa ukungabi khona kobuholi and not creating political inclusion and so forth and so forth. All of those aspects which can reduce these costs if we are doing that. But maybe it's something that ngempela kufanele sizibuze as councils ukuthi, how did we get here and how can we turn this situation around, because it can't be allowed to continue. But it can also be suppressed artificially, meaning asikwazi ukuthi sithi kukhona abantu abaphila ngaphansi kwengcindezi esilindele ukuthi baqede corruption, baqede yonke leyo nto kodwa bese singavikeli. The opposite of that cannot happen. So environmental factors have to be considered. The input lastly from Gerard. In fact, as we go to the elections, I want to put it to you, councillors, that your biggest risk is going to start with Labour. I-Labour izoza kuwe ithi overtime niyasicindezela ngawo ini. We must not bargain our political life using the institutions that we are running. Because the moment we do that, we're saying, no. Lama police awehle, lawa wadilike ukuze abasebenzi babe nempilo engcono. Kanti siyawisa umkhandla. Because an MM has to come in and put those controls in place. The moment enza njalo, the MM is seen as the bad person. So we have to protect the policies of these organizations that we are running. So just to support Gerard on that point. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that comment, Mr. Gwala. I'll also give an opportunity maybe to comments from the other panelists. Mr. Duma.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Chair, I think I cannot overemphasize the issue of costs too much. It's clear that unless something happens at a political level to contain, or not only at a political level, perhaps at a social level as well, and economic level, to contain the root causes of intimidation and killing of councillors, we are going to see an increase going forward in the costs that are incurred by municipalities in relation to this matter. So something needs to be done, and it must be done quite urgently, Chairperson. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Duma. I'll also, allow the other members of the panel, especially Mrs. Johanna Naya, if you want to make any comment from the organized labor perspective, if we can. This is the floor. Otherwise, if Mr. Vezi has arrived, maybe he can also, say a few words on what has been discussed, if you are privy to that information.
Thank you, Chairperson. My apologies. I had serious technical problems on my side, therefore I could not connect until the very last moments of the presentation. My apologies. However, Chairperson, I do want to say that the intimidation that is taking place in local government, the violence that is taking place in local government, is a slap in the face for our fragile democracy. It defeats the very purpose of our democracy. If managers and councillors, if people employed and elected in local government to do community work can't do their work because of intimidation, then it says our democracy is in danger. But Chairperson, I do want to say that, like Duma was saying, there is a lot that requires to be done in terms of ensuring that staff are safe. We need to work together with SAPS, the intelligence forces, in terms of gathering information. Some of these things, as they happen, you would realize that somebody should have known about this, that it is going to happen. But nobody would want to come out and say, yes, I knew about it. It means that there's not enough groundwork that is being done to protect local government officials and councillors. People would know that at some quarters, a discussion is taking place to harm or maybe ban property, government property, but not enough is being done to prevent that before it takes place. And therefore, it means that, Chairperson, on our side, we are saying a lot requires to be done by the law enforcement office or agencies in the Republic to ensure that public officials are safe and public property is safe. Thank you, Chair.
Right. No, thank you so much for that comment, Betsy. We really appreciate that. It's sector that really you aspire to add so much value to, and so that at the end, as you clearly say, it is important that we need not really, water down on the democracy that we have, because it is the democracy that we fought for. It is the democracy that our forefathers and also our really, late heroes, they fought for as well. And we don't want to see it, being like watered down as if it was just not something that needs to be valued at all times. I think at this stage, seeing that we seem to have exhausted almost all the questions and comments from the delegates. I would also like to say in wrapping up really this program, one should be able to really reiterate what MEC said earlier on. It is of great concern that part of what is being damaged, we are damaging very, very expensive infrastructure, especially when you damage the road. I mean, construction of a road is something that is very costly, and these public protests that take place, definitely they are really ruining every good that government is doing, because with the present approach now, that every project that takes place in any district, it is guided under the district development model, which is definitely a situation where we say everybody has to have a feel of what is happening in that particular district. And we are now nearing, especially the festive season, and not only about the deaths on the roads and the violence that takes place as well, but also the COVID-19. It's been warned that when the Minister of Health was in Eastern Cape yesterday, his words from his mouth was keeping on reiterating the fact that we need to protect ourselves. We need to really apply all the measures of prevention of infection, into place, because we are seeing now, the numbers rising. If in Eastern Cape alone, there are about 3,000, cases per day, that definitely, has been, a really clear indication that, we are absolutely not in line with the lockdown regulations. We are definitely, but I think in a way, want to say that the contribution that really have been made, which also talk to the fourth IR alignment of all sectors, especially when the MEC also spoke about that as well, when he said, there are already, safer city, secondary city that have been identified, including Umsunduzi, including Umhlatuze, and also he said also Newcastle, to follow on that, where there will be, corridors will be instituted to make sure that even cameras, they are going to be put in place to try and combat all those expenses, all those programs that are going to be put in those municipalities. They are meant to try and protect the interest of the community, because at the end we want investment in our districts. We want economic growth. And as we know that we have got a system that has been put in place, that we need to really see how for the recovery, financial recovery, the economic recovery of all the municipalities and all the districts, they need to be highlighted very clearly, which has been presented to the COCTA MEC, and also having been escalated to the Premier to say these are the plans that come from each and every district to try and work out on how we can be able to work on that. I think one should be able to applaud also the input that has come up from the PDO of SALGA KZN, which gave a very technical, as also it had been said or echoed by Mr. Duma, who did really allude to the fact that that kind of an analysis and an approach really can be able to help us really, maybe if more, we can make ourselves understand exactly what the causative factors, how can we be able to fight the scourge of this approach, where really people can say we are putting so much pressure on them. But I think at the end, if that is not done, automatically it means we are really, really misleading, all that you're supposed to be. And also the fact that a highlight was given that, if it means it is based on unemployment, and also maybe it's based on councillor kind of income, but only about 10% of councillors are full-time, in KwaZulu-Natal. So it means it's a very, very small, insignificant number that should really be able to make people have that kind of a comment as well. I think several times it has also come up, the issue that relates to the executive and also the mayoral committees, understanding so that, it must not be abused. That's what Honorable Mayor Uzwide made mention, that as long as that is not being abused. But I think, these are some of the issues that have been coming up very strongly. And yeah, I think based on that, colleagues, I would like to say this is how we're going to be able to close this session. And also now, without maybe, I just want to hear from the PDO, what does he think about us just moving to the next one, rather than just really, delaying more, because from the next panelists, then we will be heading for the draft resolutions and the discussion of the resolutions, and then it will be a vote of thanks, and then we'll be done. So I think it's best that we can just go straight to the next session, which will be session 4, which is the last one, in terms of our PMA. But before we can get to that, I think if we can have a 2 minutes, a kind of a break, 2 minutes, just 2 minutes. Okay. Honorable delegates, can we recommence and can we start? The session 4 that we are getting into, it is a session that will be addressing issues that relate to the municipal LED initiatives, SPLOMA and land use arrangements, and the opportunities brought by the fourth industrial revolution and green energy initiative. But I think as a panel, what is required is that we want to bring some insight on why we as local government have not achieved greater transformation in eradicating gender and economic inequality. We want to understand this from the lens of the municipal LED initiatives, spatial planning, the fourth industrial revolution, and the green energy initiatives. The COVID-19 pandemic has cast a spotlight on municipal operations and has exposed some of our inefficiencies as local government, most of which we should not be proud of, as it is exclusively, exclusionary practice. One of the key factors that are emanating from the fourth industrial revolution is the use of technology, which has been said and several times repeated. Now, with the pandemic, we have to pick up those lives and in our lives on the digital platform, which was almost seamless for those with internet connectivity. Yet, for those many people, other people that do not have connectivity, it was not really possible due to the lack of telecommunications infrastructure. That's why we're now seeing municipalities now, coming and that's why we're coming in now, seeing municipalities investing into fiber. We see municipalities now, they're going into even much more quicker and faster ways of engaging into the telecommunication infrastructure. The COVID-19 pandemic has amplified the environmental degradation that continues to exist in our communities. Yet, at the same time, we have not accelerated green energy initiatives with vigor it requires. We also have spatial planning, which continues to take place in a disjointed manner, with municipalities not exercising their development and spatial vision to encompass the development direction of municipalities. This practice also lends itself to the direction of municipalities, which causes poor ability of ensuring women are at the forefront of economic development initiatives, in particular, economic development initiatives. We need to explore what the reasons are for the practices whereby we are failing to achieve greater gender and economic equality. Where exactly are we failing? Where exactly are we falling short? Are we not deliberatively, in doing this in order really to be causing a lot of, deterrent to the growth of economy, which will also be, accommodative of the women especially. We wanted to get to the bottom of the dilemma and be able to provide the solutions. Hence, we have this panel that we have, which will be able to really, deliberate on the issues that we have just highlighted at the moment. In our midst, we will have the panelists, which will include the following. The first one will be Councillor Shandu, who is the Gender Commission in SALGA, and we are really, very happy to have Honorable Councillor Shandu, who will be able to input on this very important topic that she really represents as a SALGA, commission. So if you're ready, Councillor Shandu, can we? Oh, provide the floor. Oh, yes, I think you're there. I can see you. All right. Well, the floor is yours. Thank you. You can unmute, please.
Yes, Mbomvu. Sesiyatholana.
Kahle kakhulu. Ilelizwe ngilazi kuphela. Thank you.
Oh, uyalazi lelizwe Mbomvu.
Kakhulu.
Thank you very much, Mbomvu, for the opportunity onginika yona as the chair of the session. Let me greet chairperson wa SALGA, umama umkhulisi and entire PEC yaka SALGA. Ama stakeholders onke akhona kule nhlanganiso esinayo. Angithathe leli thuba ngibingelele kakhulu. Ngithi all protocol is observed. As we know, chairperson, that sineyinhlangano eziningi ade silauncha u-16 Days of Activism against women and child abuse. Sibonga kakhulu-ke. Let me thank all the departments and all the mayors ababe ingxenye yokwenza lo msebenzi wama launches abe impumelelo to all districts. But ngizokhuluma specifically ngento ye gender. My theme is eradicating gender and economic inequality. Gender equality is when people of all genders have equal rights, responsibilities, and opportunities. Everyone is affected by gender inequality. Women, men, and gender diverse people, children and families. It impacts people of all ages and backgrounds. We need gender equality urgently. Gender equality prevents violence against women and girls. It is essential for economic prosperity. Societies that value women and men as equal are safer and healthier. Gender equality is a human right. Everyone benefits from gender equality. Let me talk about economic inequality. Economic inequalities are most obviously shown by people's different position within economic distribution, income, pay, wealth. However, people's economic position are also related to other characteristics, such as whether or they have a disability, their ethnic background, or whether they are a man or a woman. There are three main types of economic inequality. Income equality is the extent to which income is distributed unevenly in a group of people. Income is not just the money received through pay, but all the money received from employment. The second one is a pay inequality. Therefore, describes the difference between people's pay, and this may be within one organization, department, or a company. The third one is wealth inequality. Therefore, refers to inequalities distribution of assets in a group of people. How to achieve equality? Number one, it's promotion of leadership, empowerment and cultural change. Women underrepresented in leadership. Women continue to miss out on the highest level of leadership and decision making. This includes role in government, business, and the community. Barriers to women's leadership includes unconscious bias, poor recruitment practices, and poor workplace cultures. Number 2, promote safety and freedom from gender-based violence. Violence against women is driven by gender inequality. The attitudes and the behaviors that drive violence against women are condoning of violence against women, men's control of decision-making and limits to women independence, rigid gender roles and stereotypes, male relationships that emphasizes aggressive and disrespect towards women. The other one is promote and economic security. The gender pay gap is influenced by a number of factors. Lack of women in senior leadership position, as the professionals outline Chairperson Ule issue. Discrimination in hiring and pay decisions, lack of flexible work and affordable childcare, over-representation of migrant and refugee, and women in low pay and insecure work. The other one is promote health and well-being. Gender impact our health and well-being outcomes. The gender pay gap and inequality at work puts women at high risk of physical and mental illness. 2 of 3 times more women than men experience mental health problems like depressions and anxiety. Harmful stereotypes about sexuality and body image play a part in this regard. Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, Babu Ngubane. Thank you very much.
Oh, Shandu Gandab, siyabonga kakhulu. That has been very, very comprehensive, short, and to the point, and telling us exactly, what really aspires, the equality that we are fighting for. And also thanks for recognizing that, all the districts in KwaZulu-Natal did manage to launch the 16 days of activism of no violence against women and children, which is, counting the most of what you're talking about is because we want to really, realize that, there are attributes that need to be taken into consideration when it comes to issues of this nature. And I think I did even highlight earlier on that, the mention by the Premier in his keynote yesterday, that he said we need really to promote women empowerment. It is a directive. It is a directive that we are given as municipalities and then as DDM that exist in the province, that we need really to be able to look at how therefore can we implement these measures, as Councillor Ushandu has already been highlighted clearly, exactly where are the shortages, where does it go wrong? I think I like that because it really does identify that some of the areas are the ones that we do them spontaneously without really thinking about what impact will that have. I think we will now, thank you so much, and we'll now go to the next panel member. We have got, sorry, what about that? The senior manager, Antoinette White, who, if she's here now, she will be the next to talk to us from. She is the senior manager for local economic development in Greater Kokstad municipality, and we are very, very privileged to have a person of that caliber, because you can feel development in Greater Kokstad, municipality. I recall when the other year we went to. For the Munimec, we went into that municipality, and that's where we really, saw what was happening in that small town, but a lot of activity that are taking place in terms of economic development. So Antoinette, if you are ready. The floor is yours, Antoinette. Okay. If Antoinette is not ready, can we go to Trade and Industry KwaZulu-Natal? Ucelo Ngamo. Mr. Ngamo. I know the name Stella always means is a man. If it means there, it's because there's our.
Yes, yes, Program Director. Can you hear me?
Yes, very clearly. Thank you so much. Floor is yours.
No, thanks, thanks, Mbovu. And my name is Sihle Ngamo, and I'm the Executive Manager for Trade and Investment KwaZulu-Natal. I'm responsible for investment promotion, investment attraction, as well as business support and business expansion and retention within trade and investment KwaZulu-Natal. And one would want to acknowledge and pass on the greetings to Mama Chairperson Kulisiwe SALGA, no Mama Councillor Shandu Oben's presentation on gender equity issues, as well as Gwena Program Director. I think mine really would focus on the issues on how trade and investment KwaZulu-Natal. So firstly, what are we doing? But secondly, how do we see issues of economic transformation, especially to bring about gender balance on economic emancipation? How do we see that program being rolled out? Trade Investment KwaZulu-Natal is an investment promotion agency for the province that is responsible to attract and support both domestic investments, but as well as the foreign direct investment. We want to be the leader in developing and promoting export trade in KwaZulu-Natal, and then we also position our province as a premier destination for investment. And how we do that? We do that by identifying and developing and then marketing investment opportunities. And those opportunities are being developed for both international investors as well as domestic investors. We develop the export capacity of the province, because if we increase the export capacity of the province, we are able to gain the foreign investments and foreign money, foreign currency, basically. Then we also develop export markets for the companies. So as companies are producing within our province, and then we help them to reach out to different markets. And then one of the other things that we do is to create the database of opportunities, which is now economic opportunities. So all of these areas, Program Director, will then speak directly in terms of economic growth and how you grow the economy of the province, but at the same time speak to the topic at hand to say, as you grow your economy, how are you ensuring the balance and how are you eradicating imbalances of the past, especially in addressing issues of gender inequality? So as part of our programs and functional areas is investment promotion, export promotion, knowledge management, as well as business retention. So basically we package projects. So as we identify projects and packaging them, we have made it a point as Trade and Investment KwaZulu-Natal that there are projects that are being identified specifically to support and specifically to work within the vulnerable communities, including youth. So we package projects for youth, we package projects for women, we also package projects for people living with disabilities. So we ensure that the economy of the country is not only focused on certain people that are enabled in one way or another, but it does addresses the imbalances of the past. And we see the vehicles and instruments that we think that can actually ensure that the economic opportunities are being spread across all sectors of our economy. Through, firstly, government spending. We think there's a great opportunity around government spending, and billions of money are being spent by government at a local and municipality level through procurement and through acquisition of services. And we are canvassing for what we refer to as a buy local campaign as Trade and Investment KwaZulu-Natal, wherein we are saying that if in a particular area there is a service that is being provided, and that service that the municipality or the government at provincial level, even at national level, has been able to identify as a service that they need, that particular service should be procured and should be sourced from that particular community. And what do you do by doing that? What are you doing by doing that? We are actually growing the economy of the area. We are actually spending and spending the money where it's supposed to go to. So there's got to be very strong set-asides for local young people and for women-led projects at a level of government spending. We also see the second instrument that we think, and we're working with a number of businesses in terms of that. There's a pilot program that we're doing at the prospecting area. Prospecting area is a South Durban Basin area, wherein you've got the big 5 companies there that are growing the economy of that particular area, the likes of Toyota South Africa, Engine, and so on, SAB, and so on. So the enterprise and supply development program, wherein the private sector would cautiously develop programs at a corporate level. And those programs should not necessarily be the CSI programs, but should be the programs that will develop enterprises that will be led by youth, that will be led by women, talking to the core of the business of that particular operation. So we're no longer looking for gender issues and looking for a work for women in terms of catering. I'm not saying that catering is wrong, but what I'm saying is that if we are looking at a business like automotive sector, for instance, manufacturing of cars, the work that and the packaging of enterprise development for women-led projects should not be about cleaning, should be about supplying the core components of manufacturing of that particular core business. And that's the level that we are pitching the enterprise and supply development program, working with corporates, so that corporates are able to identify genuine opportunities, sustainable opportunities that will be spread amongst our women-led projects, but also youth projects. And those must speak to the core of the business, not the ancillary and peripheral works that used to happen in the past. And this enterprise and supply development program is then twinned with the initiative at a national level called Black Industrialist Program, wherein government puts in money and support projects that are Black-owned and projects that are youth-owned and projects that are women-owned. So as government, we come in to package this project, and then private sector comes in to also support it, but also there is some funding that comes from the Black Industrialist Program. One of the other things that also I think we need to deliberately look at, and we're currently doing that as KZN, is to really enforce business linkages and joint ventures, wherein the projects, especially the FDI projects coming into our provinces, wherein we're able to encourage that they partner with local partners, they partner with local business people, and partner with local entrepreneurs. And we encourage that they partner with the women, they partner with the youth-led projects, so that there will be a transfer of skills, but also there will be some new skills that will be grown within our province. And then in the front of trade and export development, we've got a program of capacity building, wherein we target women-led projects, and then we support them and do capacity development programs in terms of the export licensing and export trade jargon, but also giving them access to different markets wherein they can send their products. So I think also Babu Mbomvu, we also need to migrate some of our informal economy, especially if you look at most of our informal economy is actually led by women and by our youth. And we have got a one-stop shop services wherein the registration of businesses really to move it from being an informal economy and push it to a level where it becomes a formal economy. Then once it's been formalized, then the business itself is then exposed to different types of funding opportunities, but also exposed to different types of clients and customers and so on. So I think one of the areas where we really need to emancipate and integrate gender issues into the economy is really looking at formalizing certain what is referred to as informal economy, so that then there is access to different opportunities that are there. I think what we have observed as kind of like challenges around really growing businesses that are led by women and youth and also other vulnerable groups is really around issues of access to finance, wherein, as we know, to start a business, you need to have some capital, you need to buy equipment and so on. And we are working with different entities like CEDA, IDC and so on, Peasant Growth Fund, NEF, our partners, and all of those financial institutions have got facilities wherein they target women-led projects, they target youth-led projects, and so on. So what I'm saying, Bob, is that with all of these programs, we as TechZN are open to engage. In fact, we do interact directly with the municipalities because these projects are happening at the municipal level, and we are open to engage on these programs and see how we can support the LED officer at a particular municipality wherein they've identified a group of women that are doing bead sewing or any artisan work that are doing there, or craft work that they are doing. They want to take that to a next level wherein they want to create a new market for it, which is an export kind of market to Africa, wherever. So we are saying those projects that are happening in the municipalities to the LED programs, we would be keen to engage and discuss them to see how we can take those projects to the next level so that they can grow, not remain for 10 years, 15 years at the very same level they were. And that's our job, to grow the economy, create jobs, and ensure that we export and take our products outside the boundaries of the province. Thank you, Program Director. I think that is just my short presentation, and I do think that it will perhaps provoke some thinking and some discussion going forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Great input, really. You know, yes, Cheng is so good, really. I think when you say government does deliver, it's a matter of what are we capable of, without, you know, looking at, you know, how incapable we are. I think that's the same thing that, you know, I was saying earlier on, that is about looking at the whole aspect, at whether it's a glass is half full or it is half empty, you know, it depending on how you view it. But I think we can just look at how I mean, it's half full more than really looking at how half empty, because it means there is the empty part which really does, you know, remove the component of saying I am capable. You know, everybody is capable, and particularly with the opportunities of this nature, it has come clear that we need really to make good use of these opportunities. And Khulukazi, if there is focus as well that looks into the vulnerable, you know, sector, which is the women, children, and the people living with disabilities, that are given that opportunity to be able to exercise their skills and their capabilities. I think at this stage, one can be able to say thank you so much, and then if you can make yourself available, Mr. Ngamu, because we're still going to be offering the opportunity for the delegates to make some remarks and maybe questions for clarity, which will also be capacitate the input that you've already put in terms of getting to the resolutions as we're going to be headed for that. Antoinette, I understand that she's been struggling a bit with the IT, but I'm not sure whether we can also have her now. Antoinette White, are you available now? This is the floor that we'd like to provide for you. Okay. All right. I think what we'll do is we will just pass on that and go straight to the remarks that will be made by the delegates. The floor is open for anybody who would like to make any comments on this, really, because I think it's very important. It's a very important topic. We're talking about the fact that there is the inequalities when it comes to they're providing services to especially women. When Councillor Udoli did highlight exactly which areas are those ones that do not necessarily really talk a good language, in terms of the ears of a person that belongs to the vulnerable groups, which, as she said, we need to be eradicating gender in economic, equality. She stated very clearly that we need to remove that. We need to take off gender and not necessarily look at it because it's a woman, then we're not going to be able, that person, no, it must be put aside. It is not about that, but I think it is about, the value add in that service. I think Antoinette.
Good afternoon, Chairperson.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for coming in. The floor is yours. We were just waiting for you, but I was just trying to summarize on the previous inputs that have come in from the other panelists like yourselves that are now coming in. The floor is yours, please. Before your IT can disappoint us at the moment, can you just come in with immediate effect? Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. Firstly, let me apologize for joining you. I just had some family responsibilities to take care of. But with regards to the issue of gender as well as spatial planning and what will also be expanded on in the panel discussions, and one of the issues that I must highlight is that political will and the decision to make policy decisions is what we require for gender issues to be brought to the fore. Most importantly, I think if we can achieve a more enhanced gender representation at senior levels within organs of state, or more importantly at local government, I think that will bring us to a more increased or to augment what we seek to achieve in a socio-economic development space. We are fortunate within the Greater Coxted municipality to have received 50% or to have achieved 50% representation at an executive level. And that was only due to council making the very firm decision that appointment processes within the recruitment would then be biased towards females. With regards to gender-based violence, Chairperson and my colleagues, one of the issues that have been highlighted and emphasized within COVID-19 is the issue of gender-based violence, especially in our rural communities, which now needs to be brought to the fore, especially in terms of our obligations to development towards females, especially as we are still within a relatively patriarchal society. Greater Coxted municipality is one of, I think, less than 10 municipalities that is currently participating in the lab-based program that is supported by SALGA, National and Provincial Treasury, as well as COCTA. And what we are looking to also do is change the planning that has been done so that when we look at informal economies and the revitalization of informal economies, we then become more responsive to vulnerable groups, which in addition to gender is child-headed households. In considering women in business and in local economic development space, we need to create the balance of two fundamental changes that need to happen. One being the ability of women to actually participate. We need to measure and assess whether it is that there are skills that are lacking and whether we now need to increase the knowledge base in partnership, obviously, with private sector and funding institutions, as well as tertiary institutions. Whilst business is an entrepreneurial area, we need to also acknowledge that business skills must be taught and that females must be given priority in this space. I note also, Chairperson, that government procurement is slightly lagging in terms of our targeted procurement. Whilst there are legislative prescripts that talk to this, there are issues with regard to either a lack of knowledge or continual unwillingness to reform policy decisions. I'll give you an example, Chairperson, one which needs to be expanded upon. Supply chain management processes allow for us then to target certain groupings or sectors. How we write our policy is how we actually then realize procurement. But what we find, and in an assessment that I've done within our district, is that the percentage of procurement that goes to women, even youth, military veterans, or persons that are disabled, is very minimal compared to your standard businesses or companies that have always been receiving benefits from government. This needs to change, and it needs to be driven not only from a local economic development point of view, but also we need to ensure that all departments within municipalities are aware of government's mandates and that they now are brought on board, and it becomes an obligation to implement and measure our performance in terms of procurement to female-owned businesses. We also need to consider opportunities throughout the entire value chain, and also the issue of spatial planning versus local economic development. One of the issues that we need to consider, SPLUMA versus the issue of business licensing of the informal economy. SPLUMA and building regulations they limit for example, I'll give you a very real example. Shipping containers are not permissible. However, shipping containers are more favorable if you are looking at spaza shops. Local economic development is then required to regulate the operation of these businesses. Planning, on the other hand, indicates that it is not permissible. Do we then as local government contradict ourselves in trying to champion local economic development within specific wards, precincts, or areas? Chairperson, that is my input for now, but we will expand in more detail within the panel. And I'd also like to extend my appreciation for the opportunity to participate. Thank you.
Antoinette, thank you very much. Thank you so much for such a view and an exposure to practically how therefore do we implement the economic development, especially looking at the vulnerable as community members. You have really highlighted very clearly, and it will definitely spark a lot of comments, I'm sure, from the members of the delegates, which I think at this moment when we found you, Antoinette, which was at a time when I was trying to summarize, on the deliberation that took place already from the other panelists. I think what one will be able to do is that it's when your input comes in, it's really very, very practical, because it incorporates all the other, stakeholders that are supposed to be capacitating the economic development of each and every, districts as well as a whole. And in your sector, it is quite clear that what you really are putting into the lives of people of Greater Kokstad, it is intended at putting value in that particular manner. And then I also congratulate you for the 50%, staff of Greater Kokstad in that municipality, which is very, very highly appreciated, because we have to, to do what we talk about. We need really to not necessarily just to preach the word, but not necessarily follow it up as government. So already that's a very living example which we want to see happening, even in all other institutions where, in terms of gender, in terms of youth, and should not be, and disability, living with disability should not be, the determinant of not necessarily being able to employ those people in those areas. I think one should also be able to say that, Ungamu, when he spoke, I think, he did, indicate that, it is very important that we need to look globally and not necessarily look locally. And we're quite aware that, when it comes to promoting the local, it is exactly what we want to see. But we look more in terms of foreign direct investment as well, looking beyond as to how far we can be able to stretch, which will, bring in exactly what we want to see, because we are people, because there are people in and around us. That's why, if we say as South Africa, we're just going to be remaining South Africa alone, then we cannot be able to run like that, because we need, the effect of the dollar. We need the effect of the pound. You need to have the effect of the euro and all other, currencies that really definitely talk to what South Africa is all about. I think the other issue that has been highlighted as well in by the panelists, it's the matter of also identifying the proper marketing, the market, and why, especially when it comes to TIKZN, is that it is important that they will need to activate our LED departments in every municipality. They need to be activated to the point where they need to ready to think outside the box. And if it means a person is a LED officer in the municipality, but no activity is taking place, I think it is a clear indication that there's no movement. That's why this panel, the intended intention is to say, out of what we are capable of, how therefore are we managing to make inroads, into all other areas, into in that particular vicinity, and also think outside the box as well, because there's nothing wrong when a district can be involved in engagement with foreign direct investment and with an intended building partnerships, even with other countries, to try and bring value to where we're supposed to be, as South Africans, because it does mean that government is creating an enabling environment in order for everybody to be able to take part with an intended intention, create wealth, and also to create a better income, and also to create a proper package for paying for salaries, because if the company is doing well, you're doing well because your employees, they are adding value to that particular company. That's why you need to think outside the box and say, how can we be able to value the services of each and everyone that is in there? I think at this point in time, I will also still allow, if there are any hands, people that want to comment based on what has been said. Okay. It means there's no other hand after Antoinette, because I think I did, definitely manage to probably summarize some of the issues that have already been put forth. We, according to the program, we will be going to the draft resolutions, which the draft resolution will be presented to us by the PDO, Mr. Gwala, who will be able to give us, the summary of all the resolutions that have come out from the beginning to where we are at the moment. So, Mr. Gwala, the floor is yours, and then from there, I think we will be getting discussions from there.
Thank you very much, Program Director. I'll be sharing the draft now. We will note, obviously, that this session just ended now, so some sessions have not yet been incorporated, but it's well mentioning as well that our PMA being held virtually has been brought many learning curves, and this includes even our imvuselelo interaction with members that we held in the districts. So all of those resolutions we would love to include, and so this effort of our resolutions we must take in that light. It's an ongoing process that we hope members will be pleased with. Nonetheless, as we proceed, what we want to highlight is that we met virtually in November, and our members were quite supportive of the comments made by the Honorable Premier, and also in support of government programs as articulated by the MEC. We resolved as well that we want to support the Premier in as far as concerns around our conduct during elections and how we provincial government assists municipalities. The PEC outlined how it will reorganize itself, and this reorganization was around greater focus on water, electricity, and technical services, which we agreed is much needed in terms of the challenges that we face. So the cluster of technical services having greater focus was supported. Resolving also in terms of the deadline with regards to performance management, yet being in a cascaded manner. And this is quite important in terms of how we meet our deadline. Yes, we might not say we will meet this deadline completely by next year, but if we begin the cascading now, then we will reach 100%, because by the time you get on the cascading, the process pretty much goes on its own and you finalize. So in terms of performance management, we must affirm the cascading model as our approach. Danger allowance was quite a talking point, and we are agreeing that we must lobby national members assembly for a similar approach, where we ban danger allowance as an approach altogether, and we don't negotiate for financial reward in that regard. As you go to the NMA, which is on the 4th and 5th of December, it's important that you remember this resolution, because our lobbying will be on this front, around this danger allowance, around the litigation fund, those will be our contributions to the NMA. So when you go to the NMA next month, it's very important that the aspect of the litigation fund be well understood. What is SALGA's motivation for the litigation fund? What is our intention and how it should be established? And while it's not recorded here, we did agree that a litigation fund should not be a mechanism which can easily be influenced by the politics of the day. Otherwise, it will never prosecute on any matter. It must be a litigation fund which is able to take up matters on its own accord and have a governance structure around it. And those aspects need to be clearly understood. So the litigation fund is what we will be going with to the National Members Assembly. Another important point is the establishment of the Women's Bureau. If indeed, as Councillor Shandu indicated, we are sitting on a time bomb, then maybe it is time we lobby also for this to be a national structure. So over and above adoption of the organizational reports and the organizational reports in terms of our financial state, as the CFO and COO indicated, those are adopted. The critical pillars to our contribution to the National Members Assembly must be, and I'm reminding again, gender equity and the technical structure that we are proposing, litigation fund, which we are proposing, and then thirdly, banning of danger allowance as a mechanism for the employer body. These three form the backbone of our contribution to the NMA, and it must be understood by those delegates that will be attending that this is what we would like to focus on. The rest of then the contribution will be then sent to you as we update the document. And we wish you well in your attendance of the NMA, and we will try to get this document to you before you attend such a session. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Mpepete. This has really been spelled out very clearly and summarized in a very, very, professional version. And we are very privileged to have people with that kind of acumen. And I think as the program proceeds, as having been highlighted very clearly, it is important that we adopt these the resolutions as they have been tabled, and if there are any probably maybe additions on what has been highlighted at the moment, can I get with the show of hands any comments on the resolution that have been tabled? You can raise your hand, please, so that at least we can count on you. The opportunity now is the resolutions presented. If from your perspective you see there is something that's been left out, you want to add on that based on the discussion that have taken place, and if there are any comments on that. Otherwise, if there are no comments, it means that they've been tabled, they've been very clear, and then I would like us to see the hands moving for the adoption of the resolutions, and the second as well. Are we still on?
Yes, Mbomvu.
Oh, okay.
Stella Shandu.
Oh, okay. Then
I propose the adoption of the AMA resolution in Tlangano, Baba.
Thank you very much. Is there, can you get a second up, please? On Councillor Shandu has moved for the adoption of the resolutions as very quite representative of the deliberation that took place over the past 2 days. And can I get a second up, please?
Councillor Samgelsiweyende, I'm seconding.
Councillor Samgelsiweyende, Speaker of Newcastle, she is seconding. And I think, thank you so much. And I think these resolutions, therefore, they are adopted by the PMA 2020, SALGA KZN, and these are some of the resolutions contents that we're going to be taking to the NMA, which will be taking place on the 4th and 5th of December. And we're very grateful to the participants, because I think at the moment, my being a chair for now, I think it will be now be overtaken by the Councillor Mayor Wasim Kanyagude, Councillor S. Mkombo, who will be doing a vote of thanks. And maybe for now, one can say before the vote of thanks, I'm very appreciative of the participation and also the success of today's program, which really has taken place, and promptly going to be finished before 1 o'clock. And I think, and according to the program, it was supposed to finish at 1 o'clock. And I really, really want to say thank you so much for the manner in which everybody has really, really participated, and it is highly appreciated. As PDO has mentioned that it is the first of its kind that we have to adapt to this new normal. I'm sure in the near future, if this is how it's going to be conducted, unless if the pandemic makes us to be back again to where we were, which is highly unlikely. But I think what one can be able to say is thank you so much, and I feel that we're safe from this COVID, and stay blessed. Thank you, Councillor Mkombo, who is the member of the Provincial Executive Committee of SALGA, and also who is the member. Oh, okay. What I can say is he is the mayor of Umkanyagude district, which is where I'm born in that district. Thank you very much. The floor is yours, Councillor Mkombo. He's not. You can't pick him up. Oh, okay. I think these are some of the challenges that we come across, members. It's because really we are relying on the network. We're relying on a lot of other aspects that will be able to provide the connectivity. I'm sure maybe the more advanced we come in, then I think we will be in a better position to confirm that definitely what we plan, it will be exactly as we plan. But at the moment, the Councillor Mkombo, I think it's been called. I'm sure he should be in any time. Okay. Hi.
Hello.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. The floor is yours, Honorable Councillor Mkombo. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Greetings to you, program, or rather, the chairperson of the session. I would like to greet the chairperson of SALGA, the deputy chairperson, the PEO, and all other guests and attendees who are present in this August PMA. My assignment is the simplest of them all, just to convey gratitude to all participants on behalf of the SALGA PEC of KZN. I think beginning from yesterday, we have seen the Premier of the province of KwaZulu-Natal being in attendance. We have seen as well the MEC for COGTA. We have seen as well the MEC for Safety and Security in the province. But we have seen again national executive committee members of SALGA who also honored the PMA of KwaZulu-Natal and graced it with their attendance. And I would love as well to convey our gratitude to all mayors, deputy mayors, speakers, MMs, CFOs, all managers from various municipalities who have as well honored the call for them to be in attendance in this August PMA of KwaZulu-Natal. It would be amiss of me to leave out the PEO and the whole staff of KwaZulu-Natal SALGA for organizing a very smooth PMA and lining up each and every activity without any hassle. I think that it has shown that they are now seasoned in terms of putting ducks in a row. I would want as well to convey our gratitude to the sponsors of the event. We know there are always partners who are always willing to be companions with SALGA in the pursuit of its own objective, vision and mission. So we do not want to leave them behind. Finally, thank you, Chairperson of the session. I should not waste time. I know people have been locked up in this PMA for 2 solid days. Thank you all. Go well, travel safely, those who are supposed to travel. Those who are in their offices, we wish them success in their endeavors as they go back to their normal duties. Thank you very much.
Thank you.